It's November and holiday season is in full swing, so if you're still looking for some stamps, dies, and stencils to create holiday cards and envelopes, this video is for you. Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel, and in today's video I'll be sharing the Hero Arts main classic and premium kits as well as the add-ons. If you've seen my Hero Arts videos before, you know that means a ton of supplies to share and lots of cards too. So let's just jump right into the card making, and I'll share the names of the new products as we go. These are the stamps and dies from the main classic kit. Of course, there are lots of goodies inside the main classic kit besides these, but these are the main stamps and dies. So I'm stamping some of the images with some alcohol-friendly ink on alcohol-friendly cardstock, and then once I color them in, I'll die cut them out. There's also a couple of dies and stamps to make postage stamps. So I'm making a couple of large postage stamps and a couple of small postage stamps, and I have white embossing powder on white pigment ink, and I'll heat set that so that they really stand out on the craft cardstock, and then I'll use those two postage stamp dies to cut them out. There's also a sentiment on the stamp set that says "Have a Magical Christmas." I'll stamp that in black ink and cut that out as well. Now it's time to arrange all these stamped and colored and die cut images, and I'm using the two large ones on the upper right and the lower left, and then filling in with the smaller ones underneath and above. So now I have spots to create all these different looking stamps, and I have all these cute little die cut images from that main stamp set to just fill in all of these stamps. They're so cute, and then you can pop up the sentiment as well because there are dies that come with that too. These elements are from the premium kit. There's a stamp set and a stencil set and some more goodies like I mentioned. I'm using one of the layering stencils from that premium kit to create some snowflakes around the outer edge, and then I'll stamp the critters on the border of those snowflakes. I'll also stamp "Happy Holidays to You" in the center there. And I was gonna just stamp them and heat emboss them in white embossing powder so they would look like little snowy critters, but I decided to stamp them in black. And the reason was I decided to color them in with pencils. And pencils look great on a colorful cardstock background like this. So it was just something a little bit different that I haven't done in a while. Coloring these little guys in with a bunch of Prismacolor pencils makes it really easy, and the pencils really pop off of the back of the colorful cardstock as long as it's dark enough. But you, of course, can color on white as well. I just really like the look of pencils on a colorful cardstock background, and this was a really easy card to complete. These are the holiday flourishes. I'm going to be using that main flourish, and I stamped it in some light gray ink so you can barely see it in the video, I'm so sorry, but I'm lining up the holiday flourishes layering stencils on top, and I'll just do a little bit of ink blending to fill in those openings. So this is a really nice set to have because it creates a bunch of different flourishes, and there's a stencil for each of those flourishes, and there's layers to them as well. So you can see I have some green for leaves and for stems of the flourishes. And I'm using small shader brushes to color them in so that I can get a couple of different colors or just color in certain areas at a time. So you can see there's also some little dots along the flourishes. So I'll color those in a mustard yellow color. I'm really liking the way this is coming out. This is so easy to do. That's why it's one of my favorite things to do, is to stamp and then color in with color layering stencils. And I think Hero Arts does a really good job of creating these types of color layering stencils. I'm also using the wax seal stamp set. It's a stamp and cut set. So you get a bunch of different circles and then a couple of different outer edges for the wax seals, combine them together to make a two-tone, or however you want to color it, you can have it in one-tone wax seal. So I really like the look of that as well. And since I had my pencils out, I thought I would add a little bit of white pencil detail. The Prismacolor white pencil is my absolute favorite. It's so creamy and soft, and it really is like almost using a white gel pen to add details to your cards. So I cut that panel down to 4 by 5 1/4 and matted it on on some red cardstock, and then added a few more pencil details, and now I'm tying some cord around the entire card. I'll make that into a bow, but first I'll just tie it into a basic knot and then tie it into a bow, and the cord kind of swirls at the end, which I really like. I put 2 little foam squares on the knot in the middle and then placed that wax seal on top and then added the Merry Christmas stamp at the bottom there. And these are the lacquer pens from Hero Arts. I haven't had a chance to use them a ton, so I thought this was a great way, since this is such a simple card. I broke them out to add little details to the flower center, to the dots, and just some glittery accents around the card, as well as on the red flowers. I've added a few pink dots too. I decided to add a little shine to the wax seal itself to make it look waxy, so I'm adding some glossy accents on top of the entire thing. Of course, right now that looks cloudy, but once it dries, it will dry completely clear and dimensional, and it will look nice and shiny. Next, I'll use the color layering neighborhood holiday stencils. This is such a fun set. There are trees, houses, clouds, snowflakes, little mailboxes. There's so many little details to this that this is exactly where those tiny shader brushes really come in handy, because I don't want everything on each stencil to be one color. I want them to be multiple colors. So for multiple color stenciling, it's really handy to have smaller brushes. So I'm using a bunch of Distress Oxide inks to color in the trees and a bunch of the elements on the houses as well. For the white, I'm using Hero Arts white pigment ink in Unicorn White, and it shows up absolutely beautifully without even heat embossing it. Just make sure you let it dry before you try to put your hand on top of it or anything like that. It will smear because it's a pigment ink and takes a little longer to dry. But I love the way these colors look on the craft. It's similar to how much I like the pencil coloring on dark cardstocks. I also love Distress Oxides on craft cardstock. It's just such a fun and unique way to have ink on paper, because usually when you use typical dye inks, the ink sets into the craft cardstock and it just looks muddy, but the Distress Oxides sit on top. Now I'll take another piece of the craft paper and I'm stamping some of the Wintertown Cheer Bundle stamps and embossing them with white embossing powder. So these houses are completely covered in snow. I'll also stamp a sentiment in the center of the stenciled background. The nice thing about the bundle of the Holiday Cheer Houses neighborhood is that they have dies to cut them out. So I'll pop those up in front of some of my other houses. There's also a cute little mailbox, and then the sentiment says, "Wishing you the happiest of holidays." For this card, I'm starting with the other snowflake stencil from the premium kit, and I have a few colors that I'm blending on those backgrounds. It's a non-traditional, icy, frosty looking color background. These are the winter mail critters. There are also dies in this bundle that you can get. So I've stamped them in VersaFine black ink, and I'm covering it with Hero Arts ultra fine clear embossing powder. So you can see they look a little hazy, and then once you melt that embossing powder, they're nice and crisp, but they're also protected by that embossing powder. So I can ink blend right on top and the ink won't smear at all once it's completely dry, of course. Once that embossing powder is completely cooled, I mean, you can absolutely ink blend on top. So I'm using the same 3 colors for these 3 images, so they match the background that I stenciled. Again, with the white pencil, I know once it's out on my desk, I want to use it all the time. So I'm just adding a little bit of highlighting to some of the letters. And the white pencil is a really good way to lighten up some areas so that it might stand out a little bit more. I'll use the dies from the bundle and cut those out, and also stamp and cut out the Happy Mail sentiment that came with the stamp set bundle. So now I have these 2 critters that I'm popping up on some foam adhesive, as well as the stack of letters and then the sentiment too. And that is the great thing about having all of those dies, is that you can use that dimensional adhesive to add some fun to your cards. I had so much fun making these cards this month, but I'd love to hear if something from the Hero Arts release caught your eye. Let me know in the comments below. If you're looking for more holiday card ideas, don't forget to check out my playlist called Get a Jump on Christmas. I'll link it for you right here. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Stamps, dies, and stencils. If you're still looking for let's just start from the beginning, shall we? Loudest car in the world. Right across the street. It's great. It's great.